Good morning to everybody, and it is another week. And how exciting is that? I don't know if you guys ever get Sunday night fever where you kind of think, oh, it's Sunday, I've got to get ready for the week ahead, and you almost go into like a slight depro mood. But yesterday I told myself something different. I was like, no, 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 it's Sunday. Isn't this exciting? I get to start a whole new week. So I've had this thing floating around in my head. And it was a case of like, if I think of Tamika, who's online with us at the moment, she's a teacher. And when she studied to be a teacher, she had to do all the theory work before she could actually go into a classroom and teach. It's the same with Claire, who's a paramedic. She had to go and do all the theory work before she even stepped foot into an ambulance to go on the roads. Same as myself. I had to do all the theory work before I could start practicing the homeopathy. The point is that we have to go through a season of theory in order to get to the practical. And that's exactly what happens in the Bible, is that we read the Bible and that's our theory, but then we have to set it into practical motion. It's kind of like that saying of walk the walk, talk the talk, that type of thing. So this like really, really hit me because we go and we do all of this reading and we study God and we meet together and we listen to sermons and we do praise and worship. But then as soon as a moment comes in our life that we are uncomfortable with, a negative moment, the first thing we do is we kind of retreat and think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And this is so scary. And how am I going to get through this? And. Instead of actually going, well, hang on 1 second. I've got all of this theory knowledge behind me. What does it say in order to now handle this practical experience? This then led me to going, so I've got a lot of theory in my head, and there's quite a few occasions when I can use the practical. But then what? And it goes back to exactly the same in our education. Claire then went and she went and did another course to make her a higher level of paramedic. Tamika did exactly the same. She went and studied to become an international teacher. I did exactly the same and I went and got my honors. The whole thing is that we level up in order to get better at what we're trying to study. And that's exactly what happens with the Bible. A lot of the times, especially if you've been baptized as an adult, you'll find that you go through this, they call it dying of the flesh in order to live in the spirit. Now I went and really looked into this because I was like, what is this whole thing about dying of the flesh? Like, I mean, if you're baptized or even if you're not baptized, if you just go through something in your life, a Damascus moment, okay, there is definitely a death that happens. And I got such a great explanation. It was like such a simple one. And that was about it's dying to old ways in order to living in new ways of the spirit, which we all know is what the fruits of the spirits are, you know, the love and peace and kindness and gentleness, self-control, and all of those. So it's taking old patterns, whatever that is. And this is not necessarily what we think, like an addiction to alcohol or sure, my mind's just gone blank right now. But it's not those ways. It's dying to the old ways. Something as simple as controlling your thoughts. So when your thoughts go into a spiral, that is an old pattern. That is an old way that needs to die in the flesh in order for you to live in the spirit of absolute peace amongst the storm, which we are given the theory about that. We are told. I mean, Jesus is there in the middle of the storm and he just gets up and he just calms it instantly. We are told, we are taught, we are multiple lessons on certain topics. Now, one of the most interesting things that I read about in the past week was if you take any religion, Christianity, whether we're talking about Buddhism, Hindu, Christianity, whatever the topic is, the most talked about topic in any book, if you want to call it that, is do not fear. I couldn't believe that. I was thinking love and I was going that way. And it's do not fear. It's actually written more than 365 times in our Bible. So when they say literally do not fear on a daily basis, it's told that many times in the Bible to do not fear. So, but what do? We lose all of that theory and we have to turn to the practical. It's if Claire is standing on the side of the road and there's a guy with a broken arm and all the rest of it, she doesn't have time to think, oh, let me quickly go back into my theory book and figure out what I should do. because she studied it, because she's learned it. She might freeze in a moment and go, oh my gosh, what am I going to do right now? And then she's like, no, breathe, think, recall. She gets the answers. It's the same with us. Breathe, think, recall. So I actually really want to encourage everyone this week to go out there as a paramedic. And when they get to that situation in their daily life, whether it's a guy in traffic or somebody who didn't pay or your kid is out of control or whatever the case might be, I want you to go think paramedic. What would a paramedic do right now in this situation? Even if they were panicking, think, breathe, go back to theory. I think it is so important for us to have a strong foundation. And I think that whether you read the Bible, listen to worship songs, do sermons, or take all of those things, in the moment of when you need it, you're going to get it then. But I really want to encourage everyone to be practical this week. And hopefully Claire can give us some tips as to how to do that.
You put me on the spot. I don't know if I've got new tips, but let's see. Because I can't remember all the things that we've spoken about on this group, but let's have a look. So today's topic is most probably the thing that people battle with most, is looking at my clients too, and certainly myself as well. And it does take time to down-regulate our nervous system. So especially if lots of things have happened in your life, and especially if you've had lots of unpleasant experiences and situations and trauma and people that's come into your life, or money issues or something that you feel heightened when it comes, there's always this thing that's within us that pushes us to the next level. That says oh, freak out mode. I need to freak out right now. But if you think of what's actually happening, it's like your sympathetic nervous system is being set on fire. You've heard about it before. It's the freeze or flight or freeze, flight, fright, or flight or flight system. Okay, so I'm either going to just freeze, or I'm going to run, or I'm going to, the system that we go into. Now, here's the thing. We all do this. And then once we're there, we totally jump out of the irrational brain and we go into the emotional brain. Now, when you're in the emotional brain, that's kind of when we do things like we have an argument, we say something to somebody, and afterwards we go, I never meant to say that. It is not within me. It's not with my soul. And now you have to go back and apologize because you were in the emotional mind. Doesn't give us an excuse though, but we were. But how do we get out of that situation? And this is what Carin's talking about, is okay, stop, breathe. And I think for everybody, stop, breathe works until it doesn't. But here's an easy system to remember. Imagine breathing is like a little square. So what you do is you take a breath in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. And hold for 4 seconds and start again and do it 4 times. There's lots of different breathing techniques, but this is most probably the easiest one to remember because you just have to think about the little square. The others are 6, 2, 7 and all kinds of things, and kind of your brain doesn't get there when you're in stress mode. So a lot of my clients say, oh, I'll do that when the next time it comes up. And I say to them, no. You need to practice this at least 3 times a day. So when it comes up, you know it's your go-to. Like Carin was saying, the thing you had to go and study for, and then you have to put in practice, go and study for it. If I say to you, you're going to play in tonight's symphony and you're going to play a violin, and you've never picked up a violin in your life before, that'd be kind of stressful, right? So you'd want to practice. The same with us. You want to practice. So that's number one. The second one that really works well is to hum, or to say and do it for prolonged periods of time, or just hum to a song. Because what that does is it vibrates against the vagus nerve, which puts you back into a parasympathetic mode. In other words, it brings you back into a rational mind again. So a lot of times when I'm exhaling, take a breath and then exhale, I go, and the reason is to get that vagus nerve to do the work for me, okay, by just eyeing. But we are usually told that when we stress, shush, don't say anything. Have you noticed that before? Don't say anything. So these are tiny little techniques. But the thing is, once you are back in the rational mind, then you still have to relook the situation. If your mind's hopping between the past and the future, and that's a whole new thing we can get onto at a later stage, is just know that the past doesn't exist. Because if I say this to you, you're going to say, what? If I say the past doesn't exist, it's as simple. Give me the past in my hand right now. Show it to me. You're going to go, yeah, but a past is a concept of the mind. It's a memory. In other words, it's not tangible that you can give it to me right now. The future is right now. Not the future's in the future. Only right now is in the right now. So if your brain is bouncing between the two, it's another way is to quiet your mind and just breathe, or go and walk in nature, or get into your body and tell yourself, only thing that matters right now is right now. Am I safe right now? It's usually the first question I ask people, are you safe right now? But your mind thinks you're not safe, but are you physically safe right now? If you understand that, then you can use techniques like breathing. You can start getting into your body, maybe go for a gym session, go for a walk, be in nature, go and count the leaves on a tree, anything to get yourself out of the mind. And then you can go back and now look at the situation once you're calm, once you're relaxed from a rational brain. You can go in and relook at the situation, call a friend, discuss it, find solutions. But it's best that we don't do that while we're in the emotional brain. Otherwise, we get to a friend and go, I'm so sorry, I said the things I never meant to say. So I hope that little crash course works.
No, absolutely. I think that the biggest take from this is all about practice. That's what it comes down to. Whether it's a practice of the breathing, whether it's a practice of the stop think, whether it's a practice of, okay, what do I need to recall right now? What Bible verse comes to mind? Or what practical tip have I learned and everything? It's all about practice. And just like we've had to learn that in our professionals, to whatever you do, that's exactly how we have to take it on in our life as well, and in our walk with God. It's recalling everything that you've learned in that moment. And the amazing thing is, and I think that anybody can relate to this in whatever profession it is, if you've studied it, even if you've read through it once, it's in that subconscious of yours. You just have to draw it out. And when the moment actually comes, it's waiting for you. If you allow your brain just that moment, just to think it through and just to be like, what was that about again? Oh, yeah, I remember it on that page. And blips, it's there. So all about taking the theory and putting it into practical this week.
I love that.
Right, let's get this week started in prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you that we could come together. Thank you that we can deepen our relationship with you and really discover the word. And not only can we read it in theory, but we can do it in practical. All that we need is our life's textbook is in there. It's in there. We just have to read it, and then we have to put it into theory. I pray that you help each and every one of us this week, including myself, to be able to take that practical and put it into theory and just have the most blessed week ever. Those of us whose children are in their final stretch of exams, please watch over them, keep them safe, and anybody who's going on early holiday, keep you guys safe on the roads and just have a blessed, blessed, blessed holiday. And Lord, I pray this in your mighty name. Amen. I hope everybody has a super, super blessed week, and we'll see you next week.